G'day Australia, Tim Dwyer here again. Hope everybody's doing just fine towards the end of February 2021, coming into March. Well, ladies and gentlemen, never before in the history of planet Earth have we ever found ourselves singularly and collectively in a place like this. You see, debate is the center pillar of democracy. And debate is also the center pillar of science. And when you shut down all debate, you shut down democracy, freedom, and science itself. And all that is left is totalitarianism. And with totalitarianism comes mass destruction of societies, of way of life, of people's family unit. We shut down science and all that's left is experiment on humankind. We've seen it before in other countries in years past. Nazi Germany did it, didn't end well. However, today we live in a different world. We have still a little bit of ability to get some communication out there before all the social media platforms are shut down and you and I are silenced. You see, at the moment, speaking out against the government, as I do, not because I don't like the government, it's because I hate lies, I hate deceit, and I hate criminality. And they're involved in all of that. So therefore, by me just putting this video out, I would actually be putting myself in a place where it says that I am what do they call it? A right-wing sovereign citizen or some rubbish like that. Look, folks, I am leaning to the right, because once you get rid of the right, all that is left is the left over of the right. You see, here's something to think about. COVID-19, supposedly is what they call it. It's actually the flu. Here in Australia and basically around the world has been less a flu season than all the other flu seasons come before it for the last 10 years. See, here in Australia, over 3,000 people less died in 2020 in total of all things than the previous 5 years rolling average. And Mad Dog Morrison and Hurley, the supposed Governor General, shut us down and put us in a state of emergency. A state of emergency. Now, let me just have a look here. I just want to go and get this. You won't be able to see it. I'll just read it. It's off another document I've got. And here's what it says when what I call the great exaggeration. This is the biosecurity thing that the announcement that Hurley made. It said that this instrument relates to the human coronavirus with pandemic potential, right? COVID-19 is the name given it by the World Health Organization to the disease. Who in the hell in their right mind would believe a word that came out of the World Health Organization these days? It says here, the human coronavirus with pandemic potential is an infectious disease. It is fatal in some cases, so it's potentially dangerous, fatal in some cases, and that it is posing as a severe and immediate threat to human health on a nationally significant scale. Well, the nationally significant scale turned out to be 3,000 less deaths than the past 5 years average, and still Mad Dog Morrison, Hurley, and Greg Hunt still hold the nation at a state of emergency. Why? Well, the pharmaceutical companies, who are well funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, as is the World Health Organization, had come up with an experimental thing. I'll call it a thing. It's not a vaccine, it's a thing. It's an operating system according to their websites. And it can only be used in a state of emergency because it has no FDA authority. It's not been passed, it's not been trialed, it's not been tested. I think it was, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think it was the Moderna trial they did. They did it on 20 ferrets, and the ferrets survived beautifully whilst they were in isolation. The minute they were released back into the general population of the ferrets and the other animals around them, all 20 of them died. Not highly publicized, but it happened. Now, here we go. Now, when somebody artificially holds a nation to ransom in a state of emergency, Scott Morrison and Hurley, you've got to ask the question. Look, there's nobody suffering from this disease, and I'll come to that in a minute, in ICU. The hospitals aren't flooded. People aren't dropping dead in droves as you would normally think in a national disaster, a state of emergency. So for all intents and purposes, there is no emergency. So I've got to ask the question, is there, and this is a question, it's not a statement, is there perhaps a financial incentive to senior government officials and bureaucrats from outside this nation to hold this nation and its people to ransom for this experiment? And on the Pfizer website, it says it's an experiment. On the Moderna website, it says it's an experiment. On the FDA, it says that it's not being cleared for use, except in the use of an emergency. It's a question, but I think it's a question that really needs to be dug into. Next, the CDC ran they looked for this COVID-19 thing. And what happened was they released a paper in March last year and gave it to a few dozen virologists and scientists to explain what their processes were in this. Now, when you identify a virus or a disease, you've got to take it from the full genetic sequencing of that disease. And in this case, they looked at 30,000 base pairs in the genome, 30,000 base pairs. They used the PCR test to test this. Now, the PCR test has been proven highly unreliable, false positives all over the place. And the more cycles you put that PCR test through, the less reliable it becomes. So I do not know the number of cycles, magnifications, that the PCR test went through. However, they found 37 base pairs out of 30,000 base pairs. And what they did is they took those 37 base pairs, put it into a computer model, ran the computer modeling up to match the 30,000 full genome sequencing, and called it SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19. It exists in a computer model, and that is why the vaccines will tell you that they will not guarantee you won't get it, they will not guarantee you can't spread it, and all this sort of stuff, simply because it does not exist. I asked Nicola Spirio in a notice, I sent her a notice to produce the documents that evidence that here in South Australia, that they had isolated COVID-19 separate from anything else in a full genome sequence, and to provide me with the evidence that they actually had it in the laboratories. She refused. She refused. Sorry about this, I've got stuff going off everywhere here. She refused to send anything out. Why? Because they do not have it. That question has been asked in America, it's been asked in London, it's been asked in Ireland, it's been asked in Belgium and Germany, it's been asked all over the world, and not one government authority has ever produced the documents and evidence that this damn thing even exists. What they will tell you on their websites, both Pfizer and Moderna, is that these are operating systems. These are patented operating systems. And let me tell you this, that the patent law says, and I'll use an example, if whoever owns the patent wins. Now listen to this. If a wheat farmer has genetically modified seed in one paddock and the other farmer, his neighbor, has an organic crop with no genetically modified, and if the genetically modified wheat blows over into the organic farmer's crop, the organic farmer tries to sue the other farmer for his genetically modified crop destroying the organic crop. What happened in a particular case here in Australia was Monsanto got involved with the farmer who had the genetically modified crop in the court case against the organic farmer. And Monsanto won because it was proven that the organic farmer had Monsanto's seed growing on his land that he did not pay the license for, and it wiped him out. So to learn from that is this: if they are going to inject a nano operating patented system that will attach itself to your DNA, guess what? Whoever owns that patent owns the whole crop. You take that shot, I will guarantee you London to a brick in a court of law. They will own you medically and can demand you follow their instructions at law. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a vaccine. This is a patented operating system. The other thing that's happening is people are dying by the hundreds after taking it. Morrison is aware of it. Greg Hunt's aware of it. These two callous dogs don't care. They don't care. Morrison never took the shot. You got to understand, the elites won't do it. Why? Well, why should they? It's not going to kill them, right? The flu's not going to kill them. The virus is not going to kill them. The shot could kill them, as it's killed others. They know that there is nothing to be afraid of with this COVID-19 because it is a nothing. It's a created construct. Ladies and gentlemen, I have struggled to get onto social media a bit lately. I wonder why. And so what happens is this. I've set up a program called Word on the Street, and I'll come to that in a minute. But I just want to run my crystal ball hat on for a second. So let me bring up my crystal ball. Oh, look, here in South Australia, the Fringe Festival is on. And I will guarantee you, as soon as that's finished, Stephen Marshall and his donkeys and Nicola Spiria, Nicola, what I call Spew Guts, she will bring out a fact that they've, through the Fringe, we've been introduced to these much more virulent fractions of this virus, and we now have this exceptionally contagious system. Now, nobody will be sick, nobody will be in hospital, nothing will be going on, but they will shut down the whole state and lock it down hard. They'll lock it down that hard, our teeth will rattle. Why? Because Morrison has to have an agenda to keep this place in a state of emergency, because you can no longer use that poison, that drug, as if we come out of an emergency situation. Mad Dog Morrison loves this. He loves it. Now, Donkey Dan in Victoria, he will do the same. He will shut it down so hard, he will destroy every last standing small business. Why? Because his comrades in China told him to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a scientist, but I've got a computer. I've got two eyes and a thinking mind. So what I've decided to do is if social media will not allow my content. Why? Because I question the left, the communists, the totalitarians. I question those who would kill innocent people. You watch. Shortly after all this vaccination starts taking place, people will start dropping dead hand over fist, and they'll call it, oh, it's the COVID thing again, blah, 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 COVID 2021. And away we go again, when it's not at all, but that's what they're going to use, because they are callous, uncaring. I don't even know the words anymore. The only decent bloke left in Canberra, I think, is Craig Kelly. At least he's got some guts to stand up for what he believes to be right and didn't cow down to Mad Dog Morrison. So I decided I put together a little fortnightly newsletter, and it's called Word on the Street. Let me just share this with you for a moment, please, if I may. Where did it go to? It's disappeared. Okay, let's have a look. Not there. Sorry, guys. I'll find it for you in just a second. And what we're going to see is that Word on the Street is a really, really simple little newsletter. What I do is I only ever quote documents that I can verify their existence. None of this is theory. It's all factual. I quote the Bureau of Statistics. I quote the CDC. I do all that, and I put my comments in there as well. Now, Word on the Street is designed to get off social media because we're being too censored. And there's an email down there, action@ourtrueaustralia.com. And if anybody wants to get on the email list, once you get this document, you can then email it on to others. Letterbox drop it, move it around. It's designed to get people to think and bring people to action. Because I've had enough. I have just had an absolute gutsful of people that are not properly elected, that are operating only as corporations, passing rules. They're not laws, they're only rules because they don't have the proper authority. They're not a centered authority to create laws. And they've got police now working around with AR-15 machine guns. The police are all dressed in basic black, which, you know, it's just a death cult as far as I'm concerned. And if you've got any family members who are in the police force, please advise them that there is a whole bunch of us who are going to the International Criminal Court. And every video action and every personal interaction that you have in regards to this rubbish that these people are putting upon us will be used as evidence in the International Court. Now, remember, when the German soldier said, I was just following orders, it didn't help them at the Nuremberg trials. It won't help them here either. They have a conscience. It's time for them to stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of standing up, I will stand up. I hope you will stand up too. I will not shut up, and I hope you will not shut up. I will not be silenced. I will not sit down. I will not stand down. I will, as long as tyranny exists in my country, I will fight it tooth and nail to the best of my ability. I don't have guns and swords. All I have is the written word and the spoken word. These are my weapons. I wish nobody any real harm, but I will protect myself to the absolute fullest extent of both the law and my physical capacity. My name's Tim Dwyer from South Australia. I'll speak to you all again soon. Okay, bye for now.